Hello. Hello. Ah, fuck my dick.
It's time for whiskey and shenanigans.
Hello, nation. What's going on, guys? This is the fabled podcast that we've been talking about for a long time now. This is John Rhino, F&A, to some of our loyal fans, from the band 10 Inches Between Us. And I'm sitting here with my good buddy and bass player, Mike, a.k.a. Big Johnson. Say hello to the people,
What's up, nation? How we doing today?
Yeah, getting it going down. Guys, we've been pushing ourselves to become more relevant to the scene 5 years, and Mike has been really pushing us to try to work out a podcast. We're hoping to expand, obviously, our fan base and everything like that, to get a little more attention towards our band, but we also want to become more relevant to the entire scene. The 10-inch Insider is what we're going to be calling this podcast. So get excited about that first and foremost.
Episode 1.
Who is not excited about 10 Inches Insider? But guys, the 10-inch Insider exists as a platform for all local artists, not only 10 Inches Between Us, but everybody out there who is on the scene, to freely express their opinions on the intimate workings of the local scene. We believe that in unifying local artists, sharing the highs and lows, and bearing one another's burdens, we can all learn to be the change we seek to see in the scene. So many people get caught up on all the negatives and, oh, we got dicked out of money and oh, this place was dead and blah, 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 blah. And everybody wants to see some form of change in what we're all out here doing, trying to make some noise, get some attention, make a little extra spending money, push our art, whatever your motivation is for being out there with us on the scene. We all want to see it change in a certain direction, and we really feel like coming together as local artists, whether you're a musician, just a singer, instrumentalist, painter, whatever you're doing, beat poetry, whatever you're doing, guys, we feel like we're all, pardon the musical reference, but we're all bricks in the same wall here, man. We're all pushing towards the same goal, and if we move together, we're going to be able to change this local scene to be what we want it to be.
So in a nutshell, that big old mission statement we just rambled on with, it basically, we're trying to provide a forum for us to get our thoughts out there and discuss with you, your feedback through blogs or emails, messages, or, you see us at a show, whatever. Get your information, get your opinions out there, and, hopefully we can make this whole scene in the region a little bit more well-known, more awareness to it,
Yeah, specifically, we're a rock band. We're probably going to feature a lot of musicians because that's who we deal with. That's what's closest to our circle. We're certainly open to other forms of art, and if you're listening and you want to get a hold of us and you want to be a part of this, drop us a line. We're open to whatever is out there, and we feel like we can work together in some way, shape, or form to get our names out there collectively, to push what's going on, guys. We care so much about the local scene. It affects us. It affects you. We want to know, if you're just a fan of local music, what are you looking for in a local band? What can we put out there for not only ourselves, but for other bands to raise the bar, to find out what people really want. Are you wanting to dance? Are you wanting to headbang? Are you wanting acoustic acts? What are you guys looking for?
Cover bands or tribute bands or original guys.
What's your style? What's the flavor, man? I think for us as a band, obviously we want to play music that matters to us, music that means something to us, and I think as musicians, we're all preaching something, you know what I mean? We're all pushing a certain agenda, music that we love, or a vibe that we love, or a certain attitude that we're passionate about. But we want to know what you guys want to hear, because we're nothing if we don't have people paying attention. And obviously we need to be held accountable to you for what you're looking for. So get a hold of us. We'll certainly, as we move forward with this podcast, we will be going over what we've talked about in the past. We'll be following up on the stuff that we talk about because we want you guys to stick with us. We want you guys to grow with us. We want you guys to be a part of what we're doing. We rely on you just as much as you look to us to kick ass and be a hell of a lot of fun to come see live. You know what I mean? That's why we're all out here.
Best way currently to get a hold of us would be through the Facebook page. Just 10 Inches Between Us. That's the band name. You can spell it out, Ten. I don't think if you just type in 10, I don't think we come up for that. Also there's YouTube. If you type when you go to type in 10 Inches Between Us on YouTube, as you work that in, it'll come up with another video, 10 Inches Deep in Your Mom. Just do yourself a favor and check that out too while you're doing it.
It's really entertaining. It's an honor to follow that on YouTube.
Yeah.
To be quite honest with you, we feel like we're a good supporting role to that video. All you local musicians who have been out on YouTube know the struggle of trying to get your name out there and getting people to see what's going on there. Guys, we've been beating the pavement for 5 years with 10 Inches Between Us, and hopefully everybody who follows us on Facebook is tuning in right now, and you guys know what we've been doing for the last 5 years. You guys have been sticking with us, and we want to just take a real quick minute to say thank you so much for your patience. It's been 5 years that really, when you look back on it, we go, holy shit, it's been 5 years of us being out.
I've been on 3 years for the last 2.
Right, exactly. At some point, you kind of plateau, and it all just, at some point, it becomes a blur. Because from where we're at, we're looking to learn new music. We're looking to write new music. We're looking for new places to perform. We're looking to, find a niche on the internet where people are following us and keeping on with us. We're looking to acquire fans. We're looking to get likes on Facebook. We're trying to keep up with how everything is constantly changing between Twitter and
Instagram,
whatever the hell else is out there. It's really difficult to juggle all these
Twittergram
balls.
book in your face.
And yes, we did just say juggle balls. Just you guys can quit snickering to yourselves now. We can hear it.
Balls.
Balls, man. But yeah, I mean that's kind of the trick of being a local artist. It's the trick of being a musician. We have to keep all these things up in the air at the same time if we expect to be relevant, because it's a good thing. There's always new art coming out, and it forces you to raise the bar in what you're doing to stay relevant to your fans. And that's really what we've been learning to do for the last 5 years. So for those of you who have been attached to us for this time and watched how we've been progressing, thank you so much for sticking with us. Thank you for tuning in now. Share this to all your friends, and hopefully we can all keep growing together. But it has been a wild 5 years. Mike,
Crazy.
what has been the worst show that we've played in the last 5 years?
The worst show?
Yeah, let's start off with the negative, and we'll go on to the fun shit. But let's start. In your opinion, what was your worst moment on stage in the last 5 years?
I think the worst moment on stage was probably the open mic night where we played a second set, and I said, right before they said, hey, you guys come up for the second set, we did another round of shots of our wild turkey. And I looked over at you and said, this is not good. And we got up there and started to play one of our newer songs that was actually a little more difficult for me, and I completely fucked and lost it.
I forgot about that, but yeah, I remember now.
Yeah.
It was a relatively painful experience.
But
you warned us, so I
did.
was going to say, that can be off the record. You
Yeah.
said this was a bad idea, and we still walked out on stage.
Well, that was my probably worst moment. But it was funny. It was because you realized into the first verse that I was gone.
Yeah, I should have listened.
and you just sped right into the chorus and ended the song.
Well, at least we were at the place with the band the way that it was there that we could do that.
Yeah.
Let's look at the positive there. I didn't know if you were going to say that or when your strap broke at Midget Wrestling, because that was such an awesome gig.
God,
and you
that
couldn't
did suck.
jump around like the enthusiastic bass player that you are.
I do. For those of you who haven't seen us live, when you and I'm not trying to insult any other bass players out there by any means, but for the most part, the bass players I've ever seen live just kind of sit there in their groove and play. I can't stand still. I have ADHD.
Let's talk about that real quick. There are two kinds of bass players. There's the long-haired bass player that just kind of lets his hair fall in front of his face and stands in the corner next to his amp, kind of bobs there, and yeah, there's that.
And y'all know who you are. Just admit it. Don't be insulted.
And it carries over to the guitarists too, because that's true in the guitar world as well. And then there's the ones that are out there and being ridiculous. And Mike, I would say you fall more on that side than the stand next to your amp and don't do anything.
Yeah. So the midget wrestling show we played was it 2 years now?
Shit. Like I said, it's been a blur, man.
Yeah. We were not even halfway into the first song of the night, and my strap broke. So I was forced to finish the rest of the night on a stool, unable to do my normal jumping around. And
this doesn't seem like a big deal unless you are in a band. Bands, if you are listening to this, if you were a musician, if you were an artist, and you have performed on stage, drop us a line and sympathize with this poor man. Because not only is it painful to have to sit down while you're playing a live show, unless it's an acoustic set, which it was not, but you have to realize that we were playing in a large bar that was very full of extremely intoxicated people who had just enjoyed 3.5 hours
Tense.
of undersized, full-grown adults beating the snot out of each other. I'm talking
it was
like
chairs,
brutal midget wrestling,
open
to the
palm
core.
slaps. It was great.
And the rock god smiled on us, and we got to do the rock show immediately following that. So everybody was drunk and worked up for us. And then Mike breaks a strap. And there was no backup. And we had to perform for a bunch of rowdy motherfuckers as a three-piece where every member counts. You got to toe your weight when you're a three-piece. You can't have one part of that slacking because there's nothing to hide behind.
Right.
It's brutal being a three-piece. That's where we're at. That's what we're doing now. But yeah, as a three-piece, trying to perform for a bunch of rowdy people, and your bass player has to sit on a stool where he normally is jumping around, getting people excited, jumping into the crowd and dancing with women. It's what you got to do to be an awesome band, and that's what every band is trying to be. Let's just face it. No matter what you're doing, you're trying to be awesome at what you're doing. So I don't know if that would be the low point or not, Mike.
No, I mean...
That seemed rough. Like, I would be extremely...
There was like a depressing
Dejected by
point,
that, yeah.
I guess, but not
Yeah.
the worst. Yeah, the worst was when I just failed. I failed the fucking song, and that I mean, granted, it was only an open mic night, and I did warn y'all. That last shot did me in. Good Lord. But what about you? In the last 5 years?
My lowest point was...
Go ahead, no, I got it.
No, I don't want to hear your opinion, okay? You may have asked for mine, but this is not a lateral platform here. Let's just keep that in mind first and foremost. My lowest point on... I don't know, man, because like I've told you guys in the past, and maybe some of our hardcore fans have heard me say this, for me, playing music... It just takes me to a different place. I love doing it. I work a regular job because I have to afford to be able to play music. But I love playing music, and it's just a completely different experience for me to be on stage. So I think I get caught up in that, and I don't necessarily always remember all the fine details of what goes on. So to me, it's all just kind of... You roll with what's going on live, and the rest is all muscle memory. And
what is it?
Best of luck to you. I don't know.
What is it you used to say to me before each show?
Every show, let me know how it goes, man.
Yeah, he'd lean over and just let me know how it goes.
Right before the first note of our set. Hey, man, let me know how this goes.
And let me tell you guys, the first few times this happened, this is my first band experience. I've never been in a band before. I just started with John took me under his wing, taught me everything. So I never had a whole lot of experience to fall back on. So the first few shows, he leans over and says, "Let me know how this goes." I'm like, "Oh shit!"
Well, I mean,
what is wrong with him? Like, is is he already that fucking drunk?
Let's just put it to you this way. If you are going to join a band called 10 Inches Between Us as your first band experience, you better expect to be pushed in balls deep.
All in.
That's all I'm going to say about that. We don't fuck around.
I say probably maybe the worst. But you know what? Actually, it worked out in the end. The worst thing that I think that happened for you was the Halloween party last year. When you broke the string, we had no backup. We still had a full set to play.
That's true. Yeah, that was rough.
But
it was just the whole day was jinxed. And I don't know. It was bad because, like, the day was going shitty, but we were in a place where we didn't expect to be as busy as they turned out being. And then it was like this big old show, and I don't know, man. The stars just weren't lining up all day. And I went, well, maybe it'll end on a high note. And instead, what happened was I broke a string. Now, luckily, Mike, in his all-knowing wisdom, had been prepared for this in a way by having DJ equipment there and ready to whip out so we could still finish the party. And it all ended up working out in the end. But...
And that launched another platform. But, you know, we'll get into that later because that could fall... you know, different things we do to keep ourselves ahead of the
That's
game.
true.
We'll cover that happened later.
But I think the hardest part about the last 5 years for this band, and this is probably something that other bands can relate to, has been our lineup changes. You start out a band and you have a certain vision for the way you want things to go, and you build it a certain way, and then all of a sudden something happens, something changes. We're in a dynamic business here, you know what I mean? And things don't always go as planned.
Right. We started off as a 4-piece.
Mike and I are the two remaining original members of 10 Inches Between Us. And yes, we were a 4-piece in the very beginning. Mike, do you want to sum up our first lineup change? Because you have a pretty good perspective on the whole original drummer situation.
I mean, but, okay, honestly, I feel like he didn't realize what he was getting into. I mean, to be honest, you know, other than the jokes aside, I think he didn't realize how much work it was going to be. Loading all that shit up every night, every weekend, taking it into the bar, playing that full show, and then unloading all back in at the end of the day.
Well, for just a second, let's just put it out there. People think they want to be in a band until they're in a band. Right. Girls think they want a boyfriend who's in a band until they get a boyfriend who's in a band, because people only see the tip of the iceberg.
The glamour.
It is so much work to put a band together, to get multiple personalities to be on the same page for at least an hour, if not longer, per night. That in and of itself. 4 different work schedules that have to be coordinated, agreeing on what songs to play, writing new material, the hours and hours and hours of practice, the money that goes into getting the equipment, the time it takes to get a bar to say, we'll trust you with X amount of our dollars to do what you say you can do. You know what I mean? There is so much that goes unseen and unappreciated by people, not because everybody's a dick, but because I don't think everybody understands everything that goes into being an artist that is trying to make a difference on the scene.
Right.
And
their own mark.
And that does not exclude musicians. You know what I mean? Some musicians don't even necessarily know the commitment that we at least have tried to take to what we're trying to do.
But so the original drummer, I feel like he didn't realize how much work it was all gonna be, and then I think, you know, he got swept away by it. You know, the last show we played with him, you know, well, obviously you know, but we'll tell everyone listening, he was drunk off his ass before we even started our set. And they could very well be, like I said, he got swept away in the moment. You know, we're a partying rock star, and he was over 40. He was an old hippie. His wife was an old hippie, and she tried controlling the band and telling us what to do, and it just little conflict of personalities, and so I guess just.
I think it was a conflict in motivation because, honestly, when we were building this band, we thought about never really even performing out live.
That's right.
We thought about just sitting in this dude's basement, recording songs, and
hopefully selling them off.
Either selling them off to a band that really wanted to be out on the scene, or just doing internet sales and trying to get downloads. You know what I mean? Like, we never intended to be out on the scene originally, and then all of a sudden that changed. We ended up doing a couple of open mic nights to try to get our sound out there, and next thing you know, people were wanting to book us shows. And I don't know that he was ready to deal with the changes that you have to be ready to deal with as a performing artist.
No, I don't think, not at all. Did he play other shows? I mean, he had the other band. Did he play actual shows, or they were always in the basement too?
I don't know that they played very consistently.
Yeah, I don't know.
He was talented. It wasn't that he didn't
yeah.
have the chops. I mean, he could do what he claimed he could do, at least. He wasn't dishonest with us, but I feel like there's a certain illusion to being in a band. Like, it's just a piece of cake for any talented musicians to get together and it just works. And that's just not the way it is. It doesn't work like that. You can have all kinds of talent in the same room and it just doesn't gel.
It's like a marriage, man. I mean, you just gotta work at it sometimes.
Yeah. Or just say, fuck it, we need to move on.
I want a divorce.
I'm trading you in for a sportier model. That's the way it's gonna work. Yeah, exactly. But at least we figured out relatively quickly with him. He wasn't even with us a full year.
No.
And then it was on to Tony.
Tony, was our next drummer. We were still a 4-piece at that point in time. So Tony, man, he was great. He sat down our first practice with us, not knowing a damn thing that we did.
With an electronic kit.
Or how we played it. Because, those who haven't heard us or haven't come to our shows, our covers, for the most part, we don't play them. We're not a jukebox. We don't play them like they do, like the original artist will. We always change it up, make it a little bit 10 inches. And Tony jumped right in without any preamble and just filled it in.
We got really, really lucky.
Spoiled, really.
We really did. He was the perfect fit for us at that time, and we took off from that point. We got very fortunate with him, and we were able to take off. And then next thing you know, we had another member that was taking a different artistic direction in his life, and we went down to being a 3-piece. We dropped a guitarist, and with that, the band kind of took on another different direction, and
whole another dynamic.
Yeah, and it was just, we've been in the last 5 years, we've been in this almost cycle of rebirth. When we got Tony, we had to start over from the first 8-9 months of work that we did to teach him what we were doing and to gel with him. And then when we dropped a guitarist to go from a 4-piece to a 3-piece, we really had to develop on.
I had to step up my game.
Well, we had to fill in the sound.
Yeah.
We couldn't lose quality just because we lost a member of the band, and that just wasn't going to work for us. So we kind of had to relearn everything that we were doing because we had one less person to fill in everything that we needed to have for our live show. And then it was 5-6 years with Tony? Well, no, we've only been 5 years. So yeah, it was about 4.5 years with Tony, and now here we are in our 5th, going on 6th year with the band, and we've got ourselves a new drummer,
Mr. Dan Corley.
Mr. Dan Corley, holding down the rhythm section of 10 inches between us, keeping the groove tight for everybody, and it's exciting.
Really is, yeah. I was just broken a little bit when Tony broke the news he was leaving us, and I called it. I mean, I seen it coming, and that's a story for another time, if even ever on this podcast. But when we found Dan a week later, and that first practice, man, I mean, he jumped in, and he was really interested and really engaged with our dynamic and how we did things, and I mean, he had a ton of questions, which, while was very different than what we were used to, it was also very nice and fresh to have.
Yeah, and with him and the rhythm section, the band is taking just a slight tick. We've got a different personality and a different voice, so to speak, within a 3-piece. Mm-hmm. And again, with a 3-piece, every piece matters. You can't have a weak link anywhere in there. So having him coming in and learning our set, yeah, there's a few slight changes, but we're really excited about the direction that we're heading now, guys. Like we've been saying, to our faithful fans who have stuck with us, the couple of hundred people who follow us on Facebook as of now, we hope to see that growing.
600.
Okay, fine, 600, whatever it is. I don't know what the number is off the top of my head. But to those of you who've been sticking around with us, thank you so much for sticking with us through our constant rebuilding, through our slight changes, through us saying that we have these ambitions that we're trying to fill and still working on filling them. It's been a really, really crazy ride, and we've been through so much, and you guys have followed us through it, and because of your support and because of how hard we've all been working at this together, this year is shaping up to be really awesome.
Very exciting this year.
We have just come out with finalizing our plans to take our first really long road trip over the road. We get a chance to go out and play multiple shows in New Orleans.
Oh, we're going to let it out. Okay.
Yeah, we're letting it out, man. We're letting it out on our podcast. This is an exciting time. It's a new thing we're going to try to do. And we may as well let it out now, guys. We are playing New Orleans, Louisiana over Cinco de Mayo weekend. Nolans.
We may as well give a special good thank you and shout out to my brother and his wife, the best sister-in-law I've ever had. It's the only one I've ever had, but neither there.
I know that this is just audio, but we are going to do a celebratory shot of Jim Beam Devil's Cut in the honor of Brian Johnson, brother of bass player Mike, a.k.a. Big Johnson, who pretty much orchestrated this little itty-bitty mini tour that we get to do down south. It's so cool for us, and we want to say a big thank you to him. Whiskey to you, my friend, and you know what that means to us.
Yeah. Give me some of that. All right.
Mike, do your shot. Mine was delicious. But yeah, guys, we really wanna focus on saying thank you to you for your constant support over these years. We love what we do. We love playing music. We love performing. But we can't stress how much you guys mean to us. Everything that we do is for you. If you guys weren't enjoying what we were doing, if we didn't have your support, it would be pointless doing what we were doing. And because of you guys sticking around with us and showing us love and helping us book shows and knocking down doors and passing out flyers and sharing our shit on Facebook and listening to this podcast, and whether you've been to one of our shows or all of our shows, you guys have all been a part of bringing us to where we are right now. And right now is a really good spot for us.
And that applies, like that thank you, that covers all local bands. All your support to all local bands, your buddies that play and wherever they're at, it means just as much to them as we're telling you it means to us.
110% correct.
Yeah.
Preach, brother.
Right. So, get out there and see. The scene has been kind of slow.
It's a seasonal gig. You know what I mean? The winter in Northwest Indiana is tough from a business perspective because so many venues have a hard time booking bands because you never know what the weather's going to do. Indiana has moods.
We notoriously have booked shows in the middle of snowpocalypses.
It's been terrible.
All the time.
And clubs lose money because people are afraid to be out driving, especially if they're going to be drinking, which you're going to do if you come out to our show because we peer pressure the shit out of you guys.
We encourage it. There's been shows where we'll have a pitcher of beer and some extra cups up on stage, and if you don't have one, you best come up and get one.
It's what we try to do, guys. And so the winter's always a little bit slower for local artists. You guys know what I'm talking about if you're out there on the scene with us. Cheers to you guys. Rock on for those of you who are booking every weekend throughout the winter. Nice job. Keep doing what you're doing. We're getting hit or miss still, you know what I mean? And I feel like there's a lot of bands and a lot of performers who are in the same boat with us. It's a real struggle during the winter. Spring through the fall, you can usually find a place to play somewhere. But the winter is tough. It's just the way it goes around here.
So all the fans, make sure you keep supporting, your local bands and your friends and family that have bands.
Especially
means
in the winter.
A lot to them. They may not always show it or express it, but just showing up for a couple songs even, you know, and raising your glass in the air while they're playing. It speaks volumes to them, and it keeps them driving to keep doing what they're doing.
And not only that, but it shows a club owner that there is an interest in what they're doing.
On the business. And that's the business side of it.
We get so many clubs that we try to book that are saying, we're not making any money on local music. And that's a challenge to local musicians to say, hey, make it worth these people showing up for.
Yeah.
But it's just as much of a challenge to the people who want to hear something cool, who want to hear something fresh, who want to hear something new, who want to hear something original.
There's a bar right now in Michigan City, and that you know, I called them a few months ago to see about booking some shows with them, and he told me, he said, hey, I'm done with bands. I'm just not pulling in what I expected to. He's losing money on it, so you can't blame him. You know, he's not making any cash. He's not going to spend any cash.
Yeah, so you got to look at it from a band perspective. Are all bands starting to sound alike so nobody's giving a shit? You know what I mean? I mean, there's a lot of live jukeboxes out there, and then there's a lot of bands that are only wanting to do original stuff. And it's tough to book either one. If everybody's playing the same set every weekend, people are going to stop showing up for it.
Right.
You know what I mean? If it's just a different face singing the same song, people are going to get bored.
It's not like I listen to the same Spotify set list every day.
Right.
They change it up.
It's a saturated market, and it's hard to hold people's attention for any amount of time. So if you're going to be a regular at a bar and go out for the weekend to this bar, you want to hear something different when you go. So there's a challenge to all you local bands out there and all you local artists. Something that we try to focus on is playing the songs that you forgot you loved. You know. So yeah, that's a major focus of what we've tried to do with our band specifically, was pick a set list of songs that people might have forgotten that they loved. You know what I mean? We have really, I mean, there have been some decent sized arguments over set lists, and we don't always even follow set lists. I mean,
Always, ever.
sometimes the idea of a set list is a joke to us because you have to be sensitive to the way the crowd is reacting.
Right,
So,
you gotta read the crowd.
in a way, a set list is a nice suggestion, but it's also almost viewed as the speed limit sign on 94. You know what I mean? It's a suggestion. You know, don't go any slower than that. That's for damn sure.
Nope.
But you got to kind of flow with traffic in a way. So
That's a brilliant analogy.
I'm just saying.
It really is great.
You know, thank you, Jim Beam, for this thought. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of a struggle that we have as a local band. Do you only play covers? When can you throw in originals? Are originals even worth playing? Does anybody give a fuck about what you have to say? Or do you have to cater to these MTV sheeple who won't give a fuck unless the man told them to? You know what I mean? Let's just talk about it
Do it.
while it's there. I mean, that's the real struggle of being in a band. You want to have a voice, but you gotta come to grips with the reality that people don't necessarily give a fuck about your voice until you make sure that they have a reason to.
Right. Initially, they just want to be entertained. Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
One of my favorite movies, by the way. I know it's historically inaccurate, but I still love the movie. But anyway.
How come that they're gladiators in Rome, but they have English accents? Like, shouldn't they have Italian accents, if nothing else? Like, I feel like Mario and Luigi should have been gladiators in that movie. And they could have jumped down tunnels to get away from the tigers and shit. It could have been way better.
After we get the master of the podcast, we can make a movie.
I'm just saying.
All right, I'll do it.
You know, if we get enough followers, perhaps we can fund the way gladiators should have been filmed. Put that on the to-do list.
Right, that's on our bucket list.
But anyway, until that point, guys, let's talk about, you know, life out on the road and the types of venues that we're getting as local artists. Like I said, we've really tried to challenge ourselves in 10 inches between us, and those of you who followed us might have a unique perspective on how hard we've worked to try to make a name for ourselves, to try to stand out, to try to be special amongst all the talent that is in this area. Because believe you me, there's a lot of really talented musicians. Chicago is a really historically musical place, so there's a lot of really good
Just gets
stuff
overlooked, I feel like.
it's hard to stand out, and there's a lot that goes into that. But we have really, I mean, yeah, of course there's a bar scene, and there's like, I don't know, there's like you're either playing in a dive bar to 6 strung out junkies who are going to be nodding out no matter what you're playing, or you're getting, you know.
That reminds me of that one lady when we play Lucky's Bar in LaPorte.
Just one?
No, well,
that's good for LaPorte.
I'm specifically talking about the one who's always in there playing pool.
Playing pool, you're right. Oh, what's her name? She's excellent.
I don't know that we ever got her name.
Who
but
cares?
It don't
Pool
matter.
lady.
Yeah. Oh God. I don't even know where I was going with that, but.
But that's kind of that's what you're looking at though. When you play in Northwest Indiana, you have all these bar regulars and these bar towns because there's nothing to do here in the winter on the weekends. You can't go to the beach. You know what I mean? We're right on the lake, so everything is summer oriented around here. It's very seasonal, and the winter is tough. So people drink, and for bars that's good, and for bar bands that can be good. But you have to realize who you're playing to, and that can be really fucking entertaining depending on where you land.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's obviously the bar scene. We tried a coffee house once. Nobody showed up except for Mike's family at the time.
Yeah,
Mike, Mr. 4 Divorce Mike.
Oh, I'll throw it out there.
Okay, wife number 4.
Yeah.
And she had some kids that came along. It was a package deal. And they were at the show.
Oh, yeah.
Until they fell asleep,
they
and I
fell
don't feel like they
asleep.
counted anymore.
I don't know how they fell asleep.
They're little kids. When
Yeah.
they're tired, they're tired. They're like puppies.
Checking
they
out.
run until they go ass up.
Right.
And then it doesn't matter where they're at, they're going to go ass up.
Checking out. Good night, douches.
Yep. Bam. Did you say douches or deuces?
I'll let you figure that out later.
It's like that song "Blinded by the Light." You never know what he's actually
Right.
saying. It's mysterious.
I've gotten in arguments about that.
There's also that song, fuck. Oh, "Don't Bring Me Down," and then what's he say? Is it Bruce or douche or Bruce? Don't bring me down.
Bruce. Yeah.
Turns out that it's Bruce, and he just made up a word to fit in there.
Really?
And it doesn't technically mean anything. But there's like a slight. Like, there's a word in German that's close to that, but he just kind of like slurs it. He Kurt Cobains it in German just to get it to fit the pentameter of the song. That's supposedly the true story behind that.
Wow.
But we digress.
Yes, we did.
And types of venues is what we were talking about.
The coffee house.
There's the bar scene, there's the coffee house scene, there's the festival scene. We've done that.
Done a couple festivals.
Festivals are a lot of fun.
Oh, so much fun.
A lot of drunk people.
Hogwaller with the A-Bait, Northern Indiana A-Bait circuit.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
The underground moonshine lady at the sex toy tent.
Yes, yeah.
Man, she was cool.
And
And,
then-
good apple pie moonshine. We're not talking about the normal stuff that you get, the 80 proof Everclear with some apple and cinnamon shit in there
No.
from your local liquor store. We're talking about, I don't know. It tasted like apple pie, but it was distilled way better because that shit would put you in a different universe. that was some good stuff. Good job, sex toy lady.
And also, that same festival, you got the MC of the wet t-shirt contest.
That's true. And I guess that kind of counts
Yeah.
as another venue that we've covered.
This is true.
The smut scene, the nude camp scene.
Oh, that's like the pinnacle so far, I think, of the venues we played.
I think that when people think about rock bands, that's the most stereotypical account that we've ever really had. Because people think rock and roll, they think sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And we're going to say that we at least hit one of those three in very strongly. I mean, like, we hit one of those three out of the park with the nude camp account that we had. We played a full summer being the poolside party band at a nudist colony. I don't know how many other people can say they've done that, or whether that's something anybody's ever explored, but it was a hell of a lot of fun.
It was a hell of a ride.
For the summer that we were there.
And everyone's already thinking the question, and yes, when in Rome, you do as the Romans do. So, yeah.
It's not rock and roll until you play naked.
No, not at all.
I mean, Red Hot Chili Peppers wore a sock. We went one step beyond that.
Yeah, we had superhero-themed banana hammocks.
Which came and went several times during the show. Pardon the pun. But yeah, I mean, you know, you got to do what you got to do to stand out, and that's the pressure that you're under. And I don't know, maybe we dipped below the moral line, by performing naked, but it's so different when you're there. Everybody has this idea that it's 24/7 orgy at nude camp, and it's really not. Most of it is a bunch of hippies who don't give a fuck whether you're wearing clothes or not.
Just being chill, and like your stress level just evaporates when you go there.
It's a completely different world.
It's just the atmosphere there, yeah.
To bands that are out there wondering what venues they haven't hit, be aware that the nude camp scene exists, and we've played it, and it's cool.
It is awesome. I mean, I would come home from the weekend at nude camp, and my son would be like, "Dad, you're so stress free and cool." Like,
Dad, you're glowing.
Yeah, and he was 17, so he was aware of, thank you internet for everything out there.
Thank you for destroying our youth so that we can finally be honest about what we do as adults.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean...
Types of venues, yeah.
The venues that we've been through, it's all about the hustle, guys. Being a live performing artist, you've got to understand how to capitalize on everything. I think Kiss put it best, and Kiss is the most commercialized band probably in all of history.
Ever.
You know what I mean? There's everything out there imaginable marketed with Kiss on it somewhere. And they were talking about making Kiss condoms and Kiss caskets so that they can get their money whether you're coming or going. And that's really the name of the game as a musician.
Did they ever actually do that?
I don't know if that was just a joke or whether they actually did it, but
Google it right now.
we can Google it. Yeah. I'm sure
keep talking.
We're only a few clicks away from finding out whether or not that actually exists. But whether it does or not, the point exists that we're all out here trying to make as much as we can off of doing what we love to do. And no, it's not necessarily about
they exist. There are Gene Simmons Kiss condoms.
And I know they have caskets.
I'll be damned.
There's a casket picture
right there. There's a casket, yeah.
It's a famous line that they've used.
Wow, Gene Simmons was a marketing genius.
All of Kiss was. They existed for the money, and not every band is like that. And people tend to want to shy away from that. Money is this dirty subject that is hard to talk about. But if you're a performing artist, you should be paid for entertainment. You're providing a service. It's no different than any other business. You expect to be compensated in one way, shape, or form. So it's not wrong to talk about. It's just a sensitive subject. But we're all out there on the scene trying to milk it for whatever we can, for whatever our motivations are. And a big thing that we try to do with our band is to kind of keep the principle in mind. We need to try to do what other bands aren't trying to do. And
you stand out, stay ahead of the game.
And that's how we try to leave our mark on the scene. And if bands would all adopt that idea, it would force us all to raise the level of our shows. Let's just face it. Competition can bring out some ugliness. There is that possibility. But it also brings out the best. And if we want the scene to be something that people are going to be putting their hard-earned money in these rough economic times, and our country's in turmoil, and let's cry about it. If people are going to spend their hard-earned money, we've got to make it worth it.
Right.
And so we try to push ourselves to do things that other bands aren't doing or aren't willing to do. We're trying to grab every opportunity that we can because it's a hustle.
Well, there's so many venues of media out there for us to get the word or get our...
And it's all moving a million miles an hour. In an age of information where new technology is coming out all the time, everything is moving like this. And how are you supposed to stick when the current is moving that fast? You know what I mean? Like, you don't see a lot of bands promoting their venues with videos. It's something that we've tried. It's something that we're going to continue to try. And we try to do that because it's a visual thing. How many bands are able to just put a link out on their Facebook page or on their Twitter feeds or, whatever you're using to connect to your fan base? And how many fans are willing to click on a link just to listen to something as compared to being able to see something and be able to see it move and have that kind of more of an active way of sticking in people's minds? I feel like most people
just glaze over. If it's a big paragraph, like on Facebook, they're just going to glaze over it. But yeah, we come up with a video, with some crazy, stupid shenanigans that we were famous for.
Look, let's just put it out there. If you go to YouTube and you look at 10 inches between us, you will find a video of me having sex with a deep dish pizza.
Yes.
Okay, if you want to know how seriously we take this idea of doing things that other bands won't do, I had sex with a deep dish pizza on the internet to try to promote our band. I didn't actually have sex. I shot a video where it looked like I was having sex with a deep dish pizza to promote
camera
it.
magic.
Yeah, we're magicians revealing our tricks. It's not supposed to be done, but it's rock and roll. We're not supposed to live by rules, right? Fuck it. But yeah, we try to promote ourselves with videos, our flyers. You know what I mean?
Our show flyers. We try to stand out from the typical show flyer. Local scene around here between, South Bend, Indiana, all the way to, Michigan City. Local bands, they do the typical flyer. They do a flyer, with the pertinent information, a picture of the band, and maybe, and that'd be it. Well,
let's give them a visual since we're all audio right now.
Yeah.
Black backdrop, scattered photographs of the multiple bands that will be on the venue, cool font for the information that's pertinent, whether or not there's a cover price. The cover price usually has like the jaggedy star outline that you see on the outside of like porn DVDs that are on the shelf that show all the good parts.
Right.
And you get that like thing that maybe in the old school Batman movies had like BAM or Zing. You know what I mean? That kind of thing goes on to give you the cover price.
It's a very generic, typical flyer, I feel like. Fair enough?
Yeah, generic is a good way of putting it.
Yeah. So, we try to use what sells. And saying true, like, those that follow us, we, obviously the band name's an innuendo. And a lot of the crap we say and do, full of innuendos. I mean, shit, the name of this podcast, 10 Inch Insider. Figure it out, guys. So, I throw on the flyers half-naked women.
Is it condescending? No. We're very grateful that there are half-naked women that we can use. Thank you so much for your service to local bands and men everywhere. Yeah, I know, we're getting low on whiskey.
We are. There's some rum over there, but that's rum.
Yeah. I don't want to turn into a pirate by the end of this. But no, I mean, let's just face it, sex sells. And if we can use the name of our band and the innuendos and put some sexy girls on our flyers to try to get your attention, everybody wins.
Yeah.
You get to look at sexy girls. Hopefully it gets a lot of people to come out. It gets the scene happy to be there, excited to be there. We're going to put on a show that is live and dynamic. You know what I mean? If we're trying to be leaders on the scene, or if we're trying to make a splash in this scene, we want to lead by example. We're not trying to play a show that's going to get people down or pissed off or against the establishment.
Yeah.
We want to play parties, man. We want to make people feel good. We want our art to leave a positive effect behind us. And yeah, we deal in adult content. There's alcohol involved. There's a lot of sexual innuendo. We're perfectly fine if women want to bare their breasts at our shows. You know what I mean?
Well,
we might even encourage it.
We would call our Friday shows Free'em Fridays. And it was, hey, ladies, you want to free 'em? It's Friday.
We just want to give you a venue where you can feel comfortable doing just that. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess
whatever.
And aside from the whole dirty sexual innuendo of it all, the underlying theme though is to be free, to have fun and be entertained and enjoy yourselves. Get out.
Well, we're adults and adulting sucks. The older that we get, the more that we realize this, and I think that age takes its effect when you accept that and when you go with what people think you're supposed to be doing.
I remember thinking when I was 18 and I was getting ready to move into my first apartment with my son's mom, and I thought, oh, this will be fun. We're gonna play house. I'm gonna pay bills. This is gonna be exciting.
You get into the idea that you're gonna go to your job, she's gonna go to her job, you guys are gonna come home, you're gonna fuck intimately, you're gonna order pizza or Chinese, you're gonna enjoy the same movies. You think that it's just going to go so perfectly because it works out on paper.
Responsibility sucked.
Yeah. So as a band who is asking you to take time out of your busy schedule and money out of your tight pockets, we have to provide an environment for people to have a good time, to let loose, to party, to drink, to
make sure it's
remember
worth
what it's
your
like
dollar.
to be fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To remember what it is to step away from your problems, to step away from the politics, to step away from the stress of the job, to step away from the stress of the kids or the household or whatever. That's what we exist to provide. That is what we're trying to do. And that is what the scene needs to be doing. I mean, if you can't legitimize a reason for people to come see you, then what's the point? Why are you putting the hard work in? Why are you even out here doing what we're trying to do? Why are you sucking up our space if you're not on our page? What the hell is your problem? Get out of the way.
Go home.
But no, that's what we try to do. That's how we build our set. That's how we choose our songs. That's how we write. We write about our experiences and the highs and lows of life. And we try to relate to our fans and people who haven't heard us in that way. And I think we're all trying to make this a stylish scene. We're all, like I said before, we're all preaching something. We're all pushing an agenda. The agenda of our band happens to be get drunk and have a good time and see what the fuck happens. Hopefully that rings in your ears somewhere. You know what I mean? But being a band, you know, for people to say, oh, you've been out there for 5 years, what the hell are you doing with yourselves? 5 years is young. In this business, 5 years is just starting to break into it. The bands that are out there making the good money, at least on our scene, and are booking great shows every weekend and have a great following, have been doing this 2 to 3 times as long as we have.
Easily.
You know what I have.
If not 20.
You know, that's where they're at, and that's where we're trying to get. But that doesn't mean that we can't resonate with people. There's a lot of people at our level. And how are we raising ourselves to be better than what we are right now? How are we coming together and sharing our experiences, sharing our knowledge, and raising the bar for everybody? Because if we raise our bar, that means that the people who are sucking up all the money and stealing all the shows we wish we had are going to have to step up what they're doing or make way for us. You know what I mean? It's good for everybody. It's a challenge for everybody, and we don't want to do this in a combative way. You know, if we can get together, if we can get the artists who are above us right now to listen to what we're doing and want to give us the opportunities to step up, you know, that's what we're here to do. And for those of us who are all in this weird purgatory stage of we're not just beginning, but we're not quite where we want to be, you know, if we come together, we can strengthen this and force the scene to be what we want it to be. It's up to us. It's up to us as musicians to be sensitive to what the fans want, and it's up to you as fans and listeners and consumers to hold us accountable to what you want us to be doing. So, again, that's what we're out here to be doing. We hope to be hearing from you. Get a hold of us. Get a hold of your other bands. Share this podcast. Get the word out there that we are trying to take this scene by storm and change it for the better. And that's what we're trying to do with our style, and that's what every band should be trying to do. Because we're all out here to be taking the proverbial next step. We're all out here to be pushing ourselves to be the best that we can be and make this scene something relevant, not only to the local scene, but to expand out in a ripple effect.
And not not to be the best on the scene, but like you said, the best that we can be. You know, I don't want to like say we're trying to be better than every other band out there.
No, but everybody's got a certain flavor that they're looking for. If we all work together as spices, the soup of this fucking scene will be goddamn delicious.
Yum, like a gumbo.
I do love gumbo. And on the gumbo reference, like I said, we've worked our part in this scene, and we've been so fortunate. And now we get to go over the road. We get to go down south to New Orleans, to a party town on an awesome weekend. So happens that we're there during jazz.
There's a jazz fest going on.
There's a jazz fest going on. So people are going to be packing the bars, and it's an awesome opportunity for us. And it's what I feel a lot of bands are working to be able to do, to go over the road and to be able to share. It starts on a local level, but it expands out. And we get to dip our dicks into it just briefly for the first time.
Not the full 10 inches.
Not the full 10 inches, but just the tip to feel what feels.
Yeah.
We're going out there to lose our virginity to going over the road big time. We've hit Illinois, we've hit Michigan, we've we've traveled a little bit, but nothing like this. So we're really excited about.
This is a big step for us, really.
This is exciting for us to be taking this next step.
Yeah.
But we want to hear from you guys what you guys are trying to do, how we can work together on pushing ourselves to all get to this next step. And to kind of share what we've been doing to get to where we're at. If you're not where we're at, maybe you can learn from us and you can go out there and you can take what we're doing and spread it out there and be part of the bigger picture of what we're trying to do. But one of the biggest things that we've learned is that talent alone is not going to make you stand out. Especially in this area, there's so much talent that you have to go beyond just being good at playing your instrument to really be heard and to really be seen.
Well, talent really, talent should be a major factor, but it just isn't,
Well, you can't be on stage without it, but it's not going to be the only thing that sustains you.
No.
It's a personality, it's a message, it's a tightness, it's a connection to the people that you're playing to. You know what I mean? You can be the world's greatest guitarist, but if you can't talk to the people who are coming to see you, if you can't connect to your crowd, if you're not playing songs that they feel are relevant, you're wasting your time.
It reminds me of, what's that dude's name? Gene? From our drummer's first band?
Oh, that guy!
Yeah, this guy
Way to pull that one out.
Yeah, this guy would play a show with his back to the crowd. He could not engage or connect with his audience at all.
Talented guitarist.
Yeah, but
pretty flippin' good.
But zero personality.
And it really hurt their band.
It did. It would kill.
They were talented, but they couldn't connect to the crowd. So it was like, what's the point of what you're doing? Get out of the way. Or get on something that'll make you turn around. One of the two. I don't really care. Do what you gotta do to get where you gotta be. You know what I mean? There's your rules for rock and roll. Do what you gotta do to get where you gotta be. That can be dirty or that can be clean. That's up to you. Whatever. We don't judge.
That's your karma.
It's an open forum, man. But talent alone isn't going to get you anywhere, and I think that's a myth. Oh, you guys are so good. You're such a good bass player. You're such a good guitarist. You're such a good drummer. You're such a good singer. I don't understand why that's not getting you anywhere. Well, if people are performing on a stage, chances are they're all good at something. So that's a big myth that needs to be destroyed, is that, if you're good, then you're going to be realized no matter what. Fuck no.
There's so much talent. Well, take these goddamn American Idol and The Voice and all these shows. People get on there and like, I don't, personally, I'm like, I see these guys and like, fuck, they're so talented, so good. And they get kicked to the curb. Nope, you're not what we're looking for. Boom, gone. Like they're missing something. They don't have whatever other thing they're looking for.
And there's nobody who's just gonna give you the key to unlock that door. It's a hit or miss, trial and error. Go out there and fall flat on your face, and then get up and do it again with road rash. Good luck. Good luck staying pretty. That's how brutal the scene really is. Or can be. It's not always that. Like I said, we've had some really amazing opportunities. We're hoping that New Orleans is an extension of the amazing part and not the falling flat on your face part. But we'll find out. But yeah, being where we're at right now and how it applies to the local scene, like we were saying before, there's 1,000,001 tiny little hole-in-the-wall dive bars that you can play, and you'll end up playing to a dozen drunk asses who couldn't give a fuck unless you're playing Skinnerd.
Yeah.
And,
Freebird!
You know what I mean? That's just...
Fuck off.
That's where some people are at.
Disclaimer, we will never play Freebird.
Not seriously. If we do, it's just to mock you for asking. And we're not going to play the whole song, and we're going to make it as ridiculously embarrassing for you as possible for us. Because you got to realize we have the microphone, we have the sound system. You're outnumbered.
Yeah.
You're overpowered.
We have more ohms.
Yeah. we have more ohms per square inch than you do, pal. So don't scream Freebird in our set, please.
It's off topic, but let's talk about the hecklers for a minute. How do you handle a heckler out there, the other guy, the other bands, the other musicians listening, feel free to let us know how, and maybe even relate your story of a terrible
Flip him
heckler.
the bird and keep going, man.
That's what you did.
We played a battle of the bands in Hobart.
Lake Station.
And, we wanted to show that we could play covers with our style as well as play originals. That was an agenda that we had going into there. We were hoping that the judges would think that was cool and that it would work out for us, because obviously you're in a competition to win. So that was our strategy. And we were playing a version of Brick in the Wall by Pink Floyd.
Which you can find on YouTube.
You can find it on YouTube. I think I broke a string on that video.
Oh, on that video? Yeah, you did break a string. I think I did.
So it's not the greatest representation, but you can get an idea of where we go with it. It's not necessarily the traditional Brick in the Wall cover. Well, this didn't sit well with somebody at that bar.
Some purist,
and
I'm sure.
They were screaming, boo, and I don't know if they were just doing that because they were with another band who was competing against us and they were trying to, kind of maybe shade the competition a little bit. I'm not sure if that was what was going on, or...
But not only did you flip him off, didn't you, get right up in guitar stance in front of him and just start rocking?
He happened to be sitting towards the front of the crowd. I happened to have the opportunity to be away from the mic and be in a position where I could play the guitar solo without using one of my hands. So the other hand was free to flip the bird. It all lined up, and that's how I chose to deal with it in the heat of the moment. But whether that represents itself that clearly or not, you have to have a thick skin. If you're on the scene, you have to have a thick skin. You're not going to make everybody happy. No. And sometimes you'll really get that all in one night. And it's brutal. It really is. It's tough to pick yourself up after those kind of situations and go, God damn, all that work, very little money, nobody gave a shit. I just beat myself to death. I got to be working 4 hours.
Yep.
I'm half drunk. Should have been all the way drunk. Whatever. It's really tough. And then on the other side of that are the incredible highs. The times when the stars all line up and everything goes well and the crowd loves you and you're getting the attention that you want. And that's where these bigger clubs come into play. Because where we're at, we're right next to Chicago. And I don't ever want to say that we're from Chicago. Because we're not. And God damn it, we've got to be real. This is rock and roll. You can't bullshit rock and roll.
But Rhino, it's a suburb of Chicago. No, we're in Indiana.
Joliet is a fucking suburb of Chicago.
No, yeah, they consider Maryville, Munster.
We're not in Maryville or Munster.
Yeah, we're close enough.
We're even further east than that.
This is true.
I don't know. To me, I want to be true to everything. We write about true experiences. We need to represent where we're truly from. We're from Northwest Indiana. We're Region Rats. They have a name for it. If there's a name for it, we need to embrace that. To be true to who we are, true to our fans, true to our home, to make it pure. Because you can't fake this shit.
You know that...
You can't be fake with real fans. You just can't do it.
Until, and this is a little embarrassing to admit, and I'm going to throw it out there just because it's kind of funny too, but 2 years ago, I didn't know what the region, I'd never heard of that phrasing. Region Rats or the region. Yeah.
Well, shame on you.
I know.
But it exists. Because it exists, I feel like we should take pride in it.
I do now. I do.
You know what I mean?
Full region rat.
I don't want to say that we are from Chicago because we're not. Mm-hmm. We're from nowhere. But I want to say that we have the voice for the common man. We have the idea. We have the feeling. We have what it takes to represent what people around here are looking for. You know what I mean? And for us to be trying to take the next step for us, you know what I mean? To go from playing these dive bars and these middle-of-the-road clubs to getting bigger named clubs and trying to see how far we can push ourselves, I feel like the other end of that pendulum is opening up for national acts that are coming through Chicago. They're going to be in Chicago. They have an extra evening where they're not booked downtown making the big money, so they can make the next to big money 45 minutes away. And for a local band, opening up for a national act who is doing that seems to be the pinnacle of where we're trying to be. That's where we're going to get the most attention for our originals. That's where our sound is going to have the best chance of getting heard.
And aside from the fact of getting a chance to play with a band you grew up listening to.
Yeah, no, we got some buddies on the scene. Band called Praise the Fallen. You can check them out on Facebook. I think they're on something called bandoozle.com. You can download their albums on Pandora, Spotify, all kinds of shit. They're a good band. I guess you don't download.
You don't
on
download on Spotify or Pandora. But
well, they're out there on those, and where you can just go out there, look for them. They'll let you know.
Praise the Fallen, you guys.
They've got their shit together. If you find Praise the Fallen on Facebook, then they'll let you know where to download their shit from. But they just had an opportunity of opening up for Puddle of Mud. I loved Puddle of Mud. I know Wes Scantlin's been a dick lately, but growing up, I thought Puddle of Mud was really cool. I'm a Nirvana fan. So, I mean, like, as a Nirvana fan, Puddle of Mud came out. There's some very, very obvious similarities. I'm gonna love Puddle of Mud, and I'm not ashamed to say it. Maybe I should be, but I'm not. But to see a band that we've played with a couple of times, they're a fun band to see. They're awesome. They're cool. They're I would say 99.7% original. They do a cover every once in a blue moon. But they're a mostly original band who is really making some big splashes on the local scene. And to see them open up for Puddle of Mud, a band that I love, is really cool and inspiring for me to stay the course. Because right now, like I said, we're kind of a hit or miss kind of band. Some of our shows are off the wall awesome, and then other ones are completely dead.
Yeah.
So to see a local band get to the place where they're opening up for a band that I loved growing up and stuff like that, it's encouraging to see that, and it's awesome to have them open up for a national act that gets a lot of attention, so they're able to play their music to an automatic crowd, a crowd that's already excited to be there, a crowd that's already engaged, a crowd that's already paying attention to what's going on stage. And those are all factors that are not necessarily guaranteed when you're playing a bar. Because not everybody cares. Not everybody is there to pay attention.
Yeah. Some of them just want to play pool, and they're mad that you're there.
Yeah, you are fucking up their pool game, and it's not cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's that to fight against. But those shows become less and less frequent as you get bigger names to the clubs that you're playing. And that's where we come into the struggle to try and take the next step. Because a lot of these bigger clubs are a pay-to-play kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And it's a real struggle for local bands who are starting to make a little bit of a name for themselves but haven't quite gotten the opportunity to fully expand on that. And the way that they get you, these big clubs with the big names that are pulling these bigger crowds, they expect you to bring your own people to their club. They expect you to be able to sell 30 tickets at $10 a piece, which guarantees that they're going to make $300 by your band showing up. And that's what pay to play means. It's not necessarily a band forking over cash to get into the door to play a club that has a reputation.
Although
that's how they hide it from bands, so the bands don't feel so exploited.
Although I feel like that aspect does exist out there in the pay-to-play scene. You know, hey.
Well, you have that option.
Well, I think it happens though. I mean, it hasn't happened to us. So I can't speak from personal experience, but I've heard. I feel like I've heard whispers and stories where you go to a bar. Yeah, hey, we want to play here. All right, well, here's $100. Thanks. Now we can play here.
Well, yeah, that's a very
it's a variation,
old school, very straightforward way of doing it. But the way that a lot of venues try to hide it so they don't look like they require a pay to play is to say you have to guarantee that 20 people are going to show up.
Sell these tickets
for $10 a piece. So basically, they're asking you to pay $200 to play on their stage.
And then the local bands sell these tickets, and they're not getting paid though, unless they sell over the ticket quota.
Yeah, if you get more than 20 people to buy tickets, then you get to keep
or whatever it is. But
yeah, I mean that's just we're picking a number.
It's kind of
but
bullshit.
That's the idea behind it, and I think that's where your morals come into play. Are you willing to sacrifice personal gain and personal financial pleasure to sell your name to a bigger act that's getting paid 10 grand just to show up? You know, because you're doing a lot of the footwork to make sure that the venue is full enough to validate pulling a national act into a bar in Northwest Indiana, 45 miles away from what seems relevant to the scene.
You gotta wonder though, like you think, all right, so this big national headlining band, let's take, we opened up for Tantric. Let's take that show for instance. You think they alone, their name alone, would pull the crowd in to where the local band's opening for them?
We opened up for Tantric in 2015, and Tantric had a top 20 hit in 1997.
Well, we can fact check that, I guess, later.
I'm just estimating that Breakdown came out in the late 90s, and we were playing in the early to mid 2000s.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say mid 2000s because technically mid 2000s is hundreds of years away. But in the grand scheme of things, we're playing with a band 10 years outside of being on the top 20 in the radio.
Yeah, but you would think, though, that they alone would pull the numbers that the bar would need to make their money back.
That's the fantasy that people on the other side of the stage don't understand about being on the scene.
Yeah.
That's what people don't get. When you're supporting a local band, you're supporting a band who might only be on stage to have you give an illusion that a club is worth booking a band that's been relevant before. You know, it's a jaded way of looking at it, but it's an ugly truth of what's really going on out there. And that's the hard part of what we're doing, guys. That's the hard part of where we're trying to be. How are we as local artists pushing ourselves to do things that haven't been done before, to gain relevancy in a super fast, high-tech, rapidly changing, dynamic atmosphere of our business? And how are we putting ourselves in the best position to take the next step, to be the most marketable that we can be, to raise the bar and the standard for the live show and make the scene the way that we want to be? We are really looking forward to hearing back from you guys. Please share this podcast. Please get the word going. Please start the hype with us. We're going to do everything that we can do with this podcast to try to support not only ourselves within this scene, but to bring the whole scene up with us, guys.
We want to bring more awareness to the region's music scene.
We can't stress enough that this isn't just about 10 inches between us. Yeah, we are a part of this, and we're going to talk about it because that's what we're doing. We're going to share our experiences. We're going to share what we're doing. 10 inches between us and our fans are a big part of what this is, but it really applies to everybody, and your shares and your support are what's needed to be the change that we need to see in this scene, to bring the scene up, to bring the quality of live music and live art and local art to a more relevant position in everybody's lives, because it's what we want to see with what we want to do. You know, obviously we're out here expressing ourselves, and we want people to relate with that, and also for our scene to be the secondary form of income, or maybe for some of us, the main form of income in our lives. This is a relevant industry.
I keep joking. This is my retirement plan.
I
work for the railroad, which is a great retirement plan, but Jesus, to get my full benefits, I gotta be 68 at this point in the game. I don't want to work that long.
Right. Or at least we want to be able to do this long enough that we continue to at least make it drinking money.
Yeah. That'll be fine.
Every little bit counts, guys, and that's the point of this podcast. Every little bit counts. Every share counts. Every listen counts. Every little bit of your feedback counts. It all goes together to try to do what we all want done, what we all want to see happen. We want to see the quality go up. We all want to see what we can bring out of this come up. We all want to bring a healthy competition to the market, to drive it forward, to make it what we want it to be. We want our weekends to be entertaining. We want our weekends to be awesome. And we, as 10 inches between us, want to be part of it, but we want to see other people be part of that together with us.
And with that, future episodes of the podcast, we're going to be going out into the scene. We're going to be hitting these open mic nights up or just other band shows. And we're going to try and talk to the guys and gals of these other bands. You even bring them back here to the home studio, which happens to be my dining room currently.
Today, it's the dining room. It's a mobile studio. It's a laptop and a small soundboard. So we can take it on the road, and that's what we're going to be doing, guys. If you have a desire to be on this podcast, get a hold of us. Get a hold of us on 10 Inches Between Us Facebook, because that's going to be our home base. Give us a like while you're there, by all means.
Please.
Show your support.
Yeah, it's all networking.
We would love to get together with you guys and hear what you're doing and get some of your ideas and hear some of your road stories and celebrate what's going on with you and hear where you feel like you want the scene to go. You know what I mean? This is grassroots, and this is how it's going to happen. So hop on board, get excited. This has been 10 Inches Between Us with the 10-Inch Insider.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your support, guys. We love you guys. Long live the nation, and let's do what we can do to get this scene rocking. We love you guys. Stay informed for when we're going to be up next. Visit 10 Inches Between Us on Facebook. Give us a like, and stay connected to what's going on in the local scene, guys. We love you, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Deuces.